I'm Layla, I'm 30, and last week I changed the locks on the house my mother and sister tried to steal from me. They thought I would cry, beg, and accept that the deed with my blood, sweat, and money on it suddenly had my sister's name instead of mine. Instead, they came home from a celebration dinner to find all their possessions packed neatly on the lawn, and a for sale sign planted in the front yard with my name on the paperwork. My mother kept screaming, "You can't do this. This is our house," while my sister sobbed about family loyalty. But loyalty goes both ways, and they forgot that I'm the one who paid for every brick, every tile, every single month. So if you ever thought you were the crazy one for questioning your own family, wait till you hear how mine tried to erase me from my own life and how I made sure they never did that to anyone again. I grew up being the easy child. At least that's what my mother, Diane, liked to call me. She'd say it with this weird, sugary smile that always felt like a backhanded compliment. "You're my low-maintenance girl, Layla," she'd tell me while running a hand over my long dark hair. "You don't need as much as Emily does." Emily is my younger sister by 3 years and about 100 miles of favoritism. Emily was the sensitive one, the creative one, the high-potential one. If she sneezed, my mom would ask if she wanted soup. If I broke my arm falling off my bike, my mom would sigh and ask why I wasn't more careful. Growing up, I learned early, if I wanted something, I had to figure it out myself. So I did. I got my first job at 16, working at a cafe after school while Emily needed to focus on her music. I helped with groceries when dad's hours got cut. I took out student loans and worked nights through college. Meanwhile, Emily got a car for her 18th birthday. A silver little thing with a big red bow. I remember standing in the driveway, holding the trash bag full of discarded wrapping paper from her other gifts, when Mom turned to me and said casually, "Don't be jealous. Layla, your time will come." I wasn't jealous. I was numb, because somewhere deep down, I already knew my time never came unless I made it happen. Fast forward to my late 20s, my dad, Robert, had passed away 2 years earlier from a heart attack. He was quiet, kind, and the only one who ever really looked at me like I was more than a convenient extra pair of hands. Losing him hurt in a way I still don't know how to put into words. He didn't leave much money. Years of medical bills ate through savings. But what he did leave was a dream he always talked about with me. Our own place, kiddo, he'd said more than once, looking at real estate ads he couldn't afford. A little house with a lemon tree in the yard. Somewhere you never have to feel like a guest. After he died, that dream became mine. I got a decent job in marketing at a mid-sized company and started freelancing on the side, social media management, copywriting, anything. I had spreadsheets, savings goals, side hustles. Every Friday night, when my friends went out, I stayed in with my laptop and a cheap frozen pizza, whispering to myself, "This will be worth it." Mom and Emily, meanwhile, had moved into a small rental after Dad passed. The lease was expensive and money was tight. Mom would call me late at night, worry dripping from her voice. "Layla, I don't know how much longer we can do this," she'd say. "Your sister's still trying to get her music career going. I can't just throw her out." "I know," I'd say. "Let me run some numbers. Maybe I can help." And that's how the idea of the house was born. It started as a practical thing. I sat at my kitchen table one night, laptop open, calculator app glowing like some digital crystal ball. If I tightened my own budget, cut out unnecessary expenses, and kept up my freelance work, I could afford a small mortgage. Not a giant luxury mansion, just a modest house. A place where Mom and Emily could live, and I could build equity instead of throwing away money on rent. I brought it up one Sunday over dinner at Mom's place. "Look," I said, sliding the printed numbers onto the table. "If I buy a house, you both can live there. You just contribute what you're paying in rent now, maybe a bit less. I'll handle the mortgage and maintenance. It'll be in my name, so it's an investment for my future too. But you'd have stability." Mom's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, Layla," she whispered, "you'd do that for us?" Emily, twirling pasta on her fork, said, "Wait, so I get a nicer room, right?" I laughed it off, but even then, there was a tiny pinch in my gut. "Yes, Mom," I said. "I'd do that for us." We started house hunting together. It should have been fun, but most days I was exhausted. I'd work a full day, then tour houses, then come home and take on freelance clients. I watched my savings drain into the down payment fund like water pouring down a drain. I had to keep unclogging. After 2 months, we found it, a charming 3-bedroom, two-bathroom house with a small backyard, and this felt like a cosmic wink. A lemon tree by the fence, standing in that yard. Sunlight flickering over us through the leaves. I felt my dad with me. This is it, I whispered. Emily filmed a little tour on her phone, squealing about how good the acoustics would be in the living room for her music videos. My mom kept saying, "It feels like home. It feels like home." I signed the papers. I paid the down payment. Every last dollar was mine. The mortgage was in my name. The utilities were in my name. It was my house, or so I thought. The first year was tough, but manageable. Mom and Emily moved into the house, and I temporarily kept my tiny studio apartment on the other side of town because I liked having personal space. The plan was always that I'd eventually move in and take the master bedroom, but in the meantime, Mom seemed genuinely grateful. "I don't know what we'd do without you," she'd often say. I handled repairs, inspections, taxes. I knew every bill amount and due date by heart. Emily didn't contribute much. She picked up a few part-time gigs teaching music lessons, singing at small venues, but anything she earned seemed to vanish into new clothes, studio time, or random investments in her brand. Mom excused it every time. "Emily's just finding herself. You were always independent, Layla. She needs more support." There it was again. I was the easy one. I started spending more weekends at the house, fixing things, trimming the lemon tree, repainting the living room. My friends would ask why I didn't just move in soon. I'd say, "Just working it out." The truth? Every time I brought it up, Mom brushed it aside. "Oh honey, your studio is so close to your office," she'd say. "And Emily's really settled here right now." It stung, but I told myself, "Be patient. You're doing the right thing." The turning point came 4 years and by then, I was 29, more stable in my career, and frankly tired. I wanted roots. I wanted to come home to my house, not a showbox apartment. So one evening, I sat Mom and Emily down at the kitchen table, the same spot where the dream started. "I'm going to move in," I said, "into the master bedroom. I'll give notice on my apartment next month." Emily's fork clattered against her plate. "But my recording setup is in there," she protested. "All my equipment is organized in that room. Why don't you take the smaller bedroom?" I blinked at her. "Because I own the house, Emily, and the master bedroom is mine." Mom jumped in quickly, her tone overly bright. "Let's not make any rash decisions," she said. "We'll figure out a solution that works for everyone." "There is a solution," I said calmly. "I live in the house I pay for. That's the solution." The air went thick, like the room had swallowed something heavy. Emily stormed out. Mom pressed her lips together and said, "We'll talk about this later, Layla." Later never came. Instead, something else did. Something far uglier. A few weeks after that conversation, I got a letter in the mail. Not at my apartment. At the house. It was addressed to current resident, which was strange, since most of the official mail had my name on it. I almost tossed it, but the words "property tax assessment" on the envelope made me pause. I opened it at the kitchen counter, the afternoon sun spilling over the papers. My eyes scanned the first page, and then froze. Under property owner it said, Emily Parker, me sister's name, not mine. At first, I thought it had to be a clerical error. Maybe they'd mistaken us because she'd changed her mailing address or something. My heartbeat started to race. I went to my bedroom, the smaller one I used when I stayed over, and pulled out the file I kept with all the house paperwork. Mortgage statements, insurance documents, the original purchase contract. The original purchase contract clearly had my name, Layla Parker, as the sole owner. Hands trembling, I called the county records office. "Hi, I'm calling about a possible mistake in the property ownership records," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I gave them the address. There was a pause as the woman on the other end typed. "Oh yes," she said. "We have the current owner listed as Emily Parker. Transfer recorded 6 months ago." My heart stopped. I think there's an error," I managed. "I never sold this house. I never transferred it. The transfer shows as a gift deed," she said. "Signed by the previous owner." "Previous owner?" I whispered. "Who was that?" "Diane Parker, my mother." It felt like someone had poured ice water down my spine. My mother had somehow become the owner and then gifted it to Emily. I ended the call in a daze and drove straight to the house. I didn't even text first. When I walked in, Mom and Emily were at the dining table, eating takeout and watching something on Emily's phone. They looked up, startled. "Layla, you scared us," Mom said. I held up the letter with shaking hands. What is this? I demanded. Emily's face went pale. Mom's eyes flickered, just for a second. Where did you get that? Emily asked. Answer me, I said, my voice low and unfamiliar even to my own ears. Why does this say Emily owns the house? Mom stood up slowly, smoothing her blouse like she was about to give a presentation. Okay, she said. Sit down, Layla. Let's talk about this like adults. I didn't sit. I'm not sitting until you explain, I snapped. Mom sighed, like I was the one being unreasonable. Fine, she said. We were going to tell you sooner or later. The thing is, when we bought this house, your father's estate was still being processed. Technically, he left some assets in my name that got tangled with the property. Legally, the house had to be under my name for a while. That's not true, I shot back. I signed the purchase papers. I paid the down payment. The mortgage is in my name. I checked. The mortgage was in your name, she corrected. But later, we refinanced. My stomach lurched. You what? We refinanced, she repeated, as if explaining something simple. I took over as owner to streamline some things. Then, once things were settled, I put it in Emily's name. She's the one who actually lives here full time. It just made sense. I stared at her. It just made sense, I repeated slowly. For you to take the house I paid for and give it as a gift to Emily? Emily crossed her arms. Don't make it sound so dramatic, Layla, she said. You're always working. You barely stay here. Mom said you never really wanted to live here anyway. My vision blurred with tears of rage. Are you serious? I whispered. I bought this house so you both wouldn't be homeless after Dad died. I sacrificed years of my life to pay for this place. And you just signed it away behind my back? Mom's face hardened. Don't be selfish, Layla, she snapped. Emily needs security. Music is unpredictable. This house is her future. You're doing well. You'll be fine. You can always buy another place. But Emily? She needs this. There it was. The truth, naked and ugly. My love, my sacrifices, my money, it was all just raw material for their convenience. What about what I need? I asked, my voice cracking. Mom looked genuinely confused. You've always been the strong one, she said. You don't need as much as she does. Something in me broke then. Not. My heart that had been breaking slowly for years. It was something else. The part of me that still believed they would ever choose me. I left without another word. Emily shouted after me. You're being ridiculous. Mom yelled. We're family, Layla. Don't you dare throw this all away over paperwork. Paperwork. That's what they called it. That night, I cried harder than I had since my dad died. But somewhere between the sobbing and the shaking, a new feeling crept in. Cold, focused. I'd spent my whole life solving problems for other people. Now, I was going to solve this one for me. And I wasn't going to do it with screaming matches or begging. I was going to do it legally, meticulously. And when it was over, they'd finally understand who they'd been underestimating all these years. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Her name was Hannah Brooks A. Sharp. No-nonsense woman in her 40s, with kind eyes and a steel backbone. I found her through a colleague who'd gone through a nasty property dispute. We sat in her office, my stack of documents between us. So let me get this straight, Hannah said, flipping through the papers. You paid the down payment, made all the mortgage payments, handled the maintenance, and have records of all of this. Yes, I said, every transaction. I have bank statements, receipts, even texts where my mom thanks me for covering things, and your mother somehow refinanced the house into her name. Without your consent? I hesitated. I never signed anything, I said. At least, I don't remember signing anything like that. Did you ever sign anything she asked you to without reading closely? My stomach twisted as a memory flashed. Mom handing me a stack of papers one rushed afternoon. Just some bank updates and insurance forms, honey. They need your signature because the mortgage is in your name. I already filled everything out. Just sign at the bottom so I can send them. I'd been late for work. I'd signed. I felt sick. Hannah watched my expression carefully. It's possible she slipped refinancing documents in there, she said. It's unethical, possibly fraudulent, but not unheard of in family disputes. We can request the full file from the bank. Can I get the house back? I asked, voice small. She leaned back. With the amount of financial evidence you have, plus the potential for fraud, you have a strong case for beneficial ownership, she said. The court can recognize that even if the legal title changed hands, you're the one with equitable interest. But, family cases get messy, she said gently. Emotionally, are you ready for that? I thought of my mom's face, so certain I'd accept being erased. Emily's dismissive tone, calling me dramatic. Yes, I said. I'm ready. For the next few weeks, I became my own private investigator. I dug through 4 years of emails and texts. I printed mortgage statements, bank transfers, maintenance invoices. I compiled a timeline, when I paid what, when my mom refinanced, when the deed was transferred to Emily. The more I found, the angrier I got. There were emails from my mom to me saying things like, "Thank you again for covering the mortgage, sweetheart. I know it's a lot, but it means so much." There were 0 rent payments from her or Emily to my account, despite their promises, and worst of all, an email thread between my mom and the bank mentioning a cooperative borrower who won't be living in the property, referring to me. She'd positioned me as some distant contributor rather than the primary owner. Hannah took everything and built a case. We didn't tell my mom and Emily right away. Instead, Hannah filed the initial complaint quietly and arranged for them to be served. I'll never forget the phone call that followed. "Layla," my mom screamed through the line, "how dare you drag your own family to court? What is wrong with you?" "Mom," I said calmly, even though my hands were shaking, "you stole my house. I'm simply asking the law to recognize what's already true. You're punishing Emily for your own insecurity." She raged. "She finally has something of her own and you want to take it away?" "She has my thing," I replied. "She never paid a cent for this house." Emily grabbed the phone. "You're jealous," she snapped. "You've always been jealous of me. You can't stand that Mom chose me." Her words didn't hit the way she probably hoped, because suddenly, I realized something important. I wasn't jealous anymore. I was done. Court didn't happen overnight, of course, but something else did. In the weeks leading up to the preliminary hearings, Mom and Emily got cocky. They assumed I'd back down. They kept posting pictures on social media, Emily doing house tours on her channel, Mom bragging about my daughter's beautiful home. What they didn't know was that every post, every caption, every careless little brag also helped my case. Hannah printed them, highlighting phrases like "Layla's been paying everything and Emily lives here, but Layla covers the mortgage. We'll let their own words work against them," she said, with a smirk. On the day of the first hearing, I walked into the courtroom with my heart pounding and my spine straight. I wore a simple black dress and the pendant my dad gave me when I graduated college. Mom and Emily sat on the opposite side, whispering furiously. Mom refused to meet my eyes. Emily glared openly. The judge, a serious woman with silver hair, listened patiently as both sides presented initial arguments. My lawyer laid it out clearly. I paid for the house. I maintained it. I was misled about the paperwork I signed. The transfer to my mother, then to my sister, was done without my informed consent, their lawyer claimed. It was a family arrangement, that I had gifted the house to ensure my mother and sister had stability. "Do you have any written proof of this gift?" the judge asked. Their lawyer shuffled papers. "We have nothing explicit, Your Honor. But there was an understanding. Understanding is not the same as documentation," the judge said coolly. Then Hannah submitted our evidence, financial records, emails, text messages, social media posts. One in particular stood out. An old text from my mom. "Sent a year before the deed was transferred. Emily is so lucky you're paying for her home. Layla, one day she'll understand how much you've done for her." The judge read it twice. "For her home?" she repeated. "Not your family home, her home." Very interesting choice of words. Mom finally spoke, her voice trembling. "I only meant that Emily lives there. Not that Layla didn't, Mrs. Parker." The judge interrupted. "You facilitated a transfer of a property your elder daughter paid for entirely, to your younger daughter, without clear consent. This court does not look kindly on such actions, family or not." For the first time, I saw doubt flicker across my mother's face. The case stretched over a few months, but the writing was on the wall early. Hannah was relentless. She argued not just legal ownership, but equitable ownership. She showed how every financial obligation tied to the house had been mine, and how my mother had exploited my trust. In the end, the judge ruled that while the paperwork currently listed Emily as the owner, the evidence overwhelmingly showed that I was the true beneficial owner. The court ordered the title to be transferred back to me. Additionally, given the deceptive circumstances, The judge ruled that my mother and sister had 60 days to either begin paying fair market rent under a formal lease or vacate the property. When the judgment was read, my knees nearly buckled, not from guilt, from relief. I looked over at Mom. She was crying, rage and disbelief mixing on her face. Emily was staring at the floor, jaw clenched. As we walked out, Mom rushed toward me. "You ruined us," she hissed. "I hope you're happy." I met her eyes calmly. "I didn't ruin you," I said softly. "You did that when you decided I didn't matter." Emily finally looked up. "How could you do this to your own sister?" she demanded. "How could you accept a house you knew you didn't pay for?" I shot back. She had no answer. I gave them the full 60 days, not because I was generous, but because I wanted everything done properly. No accusations of throwing them out on the street. No drama they could weaponize. During those 2 months, we barely spoke. I stopped visiting. I focused on decorating my new future. I picked paint colors, furniture, even planned a little reading nook by the lemon tree. On the 60th day, my lawyer sent a formal notice. Their occupancy was no longer legal. They still didn't believe I'd follow through. So on day 61, I did what any responsible house owner would do. I changed the locks. I hired movers to pack their things into labeled boxes and stack them neatly under a waterproof tarp on the lawn. I took pictures of everything, time-stamped, in case they accused me of throwing things away. Then I planted the "for sale" sign, not because I was actually selling, but because I knew they would see it. And I wanted them to understand, in one big, unavoidable symbol, this is mine, my decision, my life. When they pulled up that evening, Emily leapt out of the car first. "What the hell is this?" she screamed, pointing at the sign. Mom got out slower, her eyes wide, taking in the boxes. "You can't do this," she said. "This is our home." "No," I said quietly, stepping out from the porch. "This is my home. You just lived here." Mom's voice rose into a frantic pitch. "I'm your mother. After everything I've done for you," I cut her off. "After everything I've done for you," I said. "I bought this house. I paid for it. You tried to steal it and give it to Emily like a party favor. I'm done pretending that's normal." Emily folded her arms. "We'll fight this," she spat. "You already did," I reminded her. "You lost." They both froze. "This isn't revenge," I continued. "This is justice. The revenge is something else." They both stared at me. I held up my phone, showing them an email draft. I had written a long, honest message addressed to a local nonprofit that helped young adults who'd been financially exploited by family. My plan was to volunteer, maybe even start a support group. "You taught me something," I said. "You taught me that family can be the first people to tell you that you deserve less. I'm going to make sure other people like me know they're not crazy for wanting fair treatment. Don't you dare smear our name." Mom snapped. I smiled sadly. "I don't need to smear anything," I said. "The truth is enough." In the months that followed, I moved into the house. The master bedroom became mine at last, painted a soft teal, sunlight stretching across the bed in the mornings. I set up my little reading nook by the window with a view of the lemon tree. Some nights, I'd sit there with a cup of tea, feeling both grief and peace. Grief for the family I wished I had, peace for the boundaries I finally set. I did reach out to that nonprofit. I started volunteering, sharing my story with names changed, details blurred. The reaction was overwhelming. So many people, especially women, told me they'd gone through similar things: parents draining savings, siblings taking over properties, partners hiding finances. For the first time, my pain felt like more than just a scar. It felt like a warning light for others. Mom and Emily moved into a small apartment across town. We don't talk much. Occasionally I get a text from Mom, "I miss you," or "Family should forgive." Sometimes I type out responses like, "Family should protect," or "Did you forgive yourself yet?" But I never send them. My therapist once told me forgiveness isn't about letting someone walk all over you again. It's about not letting their actions define your entire life. So I forgive, in my own quiet way. Every time I take another step forward, every time I pay my mortgage, every time I water the lemon tree my father dreamed about, every time I close the front door behind me and feel, deep in my bones, this is my home, not because someone gave it to me, but because I fought for it. If you're still listening to my story, here's what I want you to take away. You are not selfish for wanting what you earned. You are not dramatic for expecting fairness, and you are absolutely not wrong for drawing a line even if the people on the other side share your last name. If you've Ever felt used, overlooked, or erased by the people who were supposed to love you most? You're not alone. Tell me in the comments if you've ever had to stand up to family like this and how it changed you. And if you want more real stories like mine about betrayal, revenge, and finally taking your power back, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one, because trust me, this isn't the only time someone thought I'd stay quiet.